current legislation does is, because they feel they cannot introduce same-sex marriage, instead it establishes a new institution called civil partnership, which is open to same-sex couples. And this will be like marriage in various ways, and there'll be an opportunity to register the marriage and have a civil ceremony in relation to it. So that's, I think, important symbolic recognition for the relationship. And then what it does, in a sort of a series of contexts in which married people are treated in a particular way by the law, this legislation extends that same treatment and benefits to civil partners. So for instance, there's protection in relation to maintenance or succession law. What happens where somebody dies when they haven't made a will? Traditionally, spouses got special protection there, and that would now be extended to civil partners. So across a wide range of areas, you see sort of levelling civil partners up to the same level as marriage. And there's about 100 pages of the Act, or the bill, that does that. So that's fairly complicated. But I suppose the one thing to point out, though, is that children are missing from the bill. It doesn't make any provision for the situation of children. It doesn't change the adoption laws. So take, for example, if you had a lesbian woman who's had a child already, perhaps out of a previous relationship or some other way, and she then enters a civil partnership with her lesbian partner, the partner would not become legally the parent of the child. And that's the reason that many people object to this bill, because they say, okay, well, the reality is you have a person here who is acting as a parent to that child. What happens if the biological mother were to die? Who's going to be the parent then? The lesbian partner wouldn't have any automatic rights. Now, she might end up being treated sympathetically, but she can't be sure of what her situation is, and that's the failure to deal with the situation of children in positions like that is one reason why many people feel this bill doesn't go far enough.
There's always a risk. Anybody with the financial resources, the legal connections, and bee in their bonnet can challenge absolutely anything. The question is whether a successful challenge could be mounted to it. That should never be a deterrent to enacting legislation anyway, however flawed or however positive. The fact that somebody might challenge it is absolutely no measure of whether you should do it or not.
It almost certainly would be challenged, and it flows from the fact that the Constitution, as interpreted by the courts very consistently over a long number of years, says that the family is based on marriage and it is opposite-sex marriage. Now, I know the opposite-sex marriage bit isn't explicitly in the text of the Constitution, but the courts are the ultimate interpreters or arbiters of what the Constitution means, and they've said this means opposite-sex partners, and they've said that as recently as 2004. So for that reason, if the Oireachtas were to introduce legislation establishing same-sex marriage, that would be inconsistent with what the Constitution says, and would therefore almost certainly, in my view, be unconstitutional, and that's the view that the government has taken.
I think that the Civil Partnership Bill will give some rights to gay and lesbian couples that haven't been available beforehand. What it also will do then is enshrine in law that same-sex relationships are in some way different or inferior to heterosexual couples and relationships.
The civil partnership legislation clearly offers a range of protections for same-sex couples: hospital visitation, insurance, pensions, and many other very necessary protections. But best is a superlative word, and because it offers no protection, acknowledgement, facilitation, or anything to do with the raising of children, then no, it is not the best by any stretch of the imagination.
I think that the civil partnership totally ignores the fact that there are gay and lesbian mums and dads all over Ireland, and removes children from many of the family law pieces of legislation that they've cut and pasted across to the civil partnership legislation. So no, it does nothing to protect or recognise the fact that there are kids all over Ireland living with gay and lesbian parents.